look, I know you don't like this, but all three of you guys are going to have to work with Spo because I'm not replacing him. I'm not going to coach this team. LeBron tried to get Pat Riley to come down and coach the team, if you remember, about 30 games into that season. But and that's what the Cavs need. The Cavs need somebody to say, hey, I've got your back, David Blatt. Now, Griffin did that, but nobody buys it. Everybody thinks that it was the vote of confidence.
Because everybody knows Griffin is just saying what the owner wants to hear.
I mean, I'll tell you. Well, you know what? A year from now, we'll know. Because if David Blatt's still the Cavs coach, then obviously they had his back. That's what I keep telling myself.
If we don't even make the playoffs this year, and right now, that's a possibility. If we don't even make the playoffs, can you imagine the disaster and the egg on the face of the Cleveland Cavaliers not even making the playoffs?
Oh, no, I understand. And you know what? Here's something else, guys, that we didn't talk about when I mentioned Kevin Love. He said all the right things after the game, but I don't know how many of you guys know that he pulled David Griffin out of the locker room last night, and those two had a individual conversation out away from everybody else for quite a while after last night's game. So, I mean, again, and that's the thing, is while we keep talking about this team getting itself together, getting chemistry, they've never really had the chance because they step into one landmine after another. It's one PR issue after another.
Right, and people seem to want to forget Kevin Love went to UCLA. If he's going to take max money, he can just very well as easily take the Los Angeles max money and go play with Kobe next year.
Well, I got to be totally honest with you, man. I've said this off the air, and we'll talk more about this in the next few weeks. If I'm the Cavs, I'm not saying I'm trading Kevin Love, but I'm not hanging up on phone calls either, to be totally honest with you, because, anyways, we'll get to more of that.
Who sits an all-star the entire fourth quarter like they did last night with Kevin Love simply because he can't play defense?
Well, wait a minute. I can't lie, Mayor. The second half of your sentence is kind of crazy. Simply because he can't play defense?
That's
half the
what
game,
was said
brother.
in today's plain dealer.
Okay. Because I'm
they
like,
had to take him off of Morris because Morris was eating him alive.
Well, that's true, but what do you mean by simply because he can't play defense? That's the most important aspect of the game.
Morris.
But I'm saying that's not a simple. It's not like, well, he's simply because. No, that's a huge reason why he didn't come back in the game.
Okay,
and the Cavs need to ask themselves.
For the obvious reason, whatever reasoning, he didn't play in the fourth quarter.
So you need to ask yourself: is that a max group? Is that a max player? Is that a max kind of guy that you have games during a season where you can't play him because he's a defensive liability?
Well, see,
and I
this
say
is what
no.
I'm saying. He was a star in Minnesota where they had no stars. Is he truly what he was in Minnesota?
That's what I'm saying.
Absolutely not.
That's what I'm saying. All right, Mayor. Okay. I love it, man. I got to go. I'm with you, man. I hear you on some of that stuff, man. Again, David Blatt in a bad position, no matter how you look at it. But that's only going to make things worse, even if you take the pragmatic side of it and go, okay, I can see where they were coming from. But the genesis of what the mayor said is true, as far as, and I started it by saying that I don't believe that was a disrespectful act, but the level of respect to allow that to happen clearly speaks to what's out there. We'll talk more about this tomorrow with Eddie Jansen from More Than a Fan Cleveland and see what the Cavs do. Man, I feel bad, man. It's like the Browns give you a break for a couple of days. The Cavs are determined to start off every day with these ridiculous conversations, man. Hopefully they get it together. Eddie Jansen for More Than a Fan. They got a lot of time. Like, that is the reality of it. They really do have a lot of time to work on this. And I don't believe they're winning anything, but they'll be better by the end than they were at the beginning. I don't know if that's enough for you that threw a parade in October, but it's good enough for me for now. We'll talk more about that. As I said, Eddie Jansen talking Cavs tomorrow. We're going to take a break. Let's get this ship moving. John McMullen from the Sports Network joining us next. We're going to switch over to the pigskin, baby. We'll talk some NFL playoffs, coaching hires around the league. Brown still looking for an offensive coordinator and more. We're talking NFL football with John McMullen from the Sports Network. Coming up next, Dan Wismar from the Cleveland Fan in Hour 2 talking Buckeyes, Doug Plagens from the Lake Erie Monsters, and so much more. Hump Day Sports Fix on the air and running, baby. We'll be right back with John McMullen talking some football here on The Fix.
The Sports Fix, the show that asks the question,
what you talking about, Will? What you talking about, Will? What you talking about? What you talking about? What you talking about, Will? What you talking about? What you talking about, Will? What you talking about? What you talking about, Will?
We'll be right back.
Sports Fix listeners, you've heard me talking about it. Millionaires being made all season long at DraftKings.com, America's favorite one-week fantasy football site. I've been playing there too. It's now J-Rock's favorite one-week fantasy football site. What's one-week fantasy football? That means no season-long commitments. Play whenever you want. Have a player who's hurt? That's no problem at all because you change everything week to week. Injuries don't derail your chance at victory. It's a new season every week. You're never stuck with the same players. You can pick your team in just minutes and be on your way to winning huge cash. This season, one listener turned $10 into $5,000. Another turned $2 into $10,000. And a new millionaire has been crowned nearly every week this season at DraftKings.com. You could be next. Imagine winning $1 million in one day. $1 million just for playing fantasy football at DraftKings.com. Head to DraftKings.com now and use promo code Spreaker to play for free in the $10 million Fantasy Football World Championships. DraftKings.com. Bigger events, bigger winnings, bigger millionaires. Enter Spreaker now at DraftKings.com.
The Sports Fix is on iHeartRadio. Download the free iHeart app today. Subscribe to the show and get your fix.
You love Cleveland, and you already know how much we love Cleveland. You know who else loves Cleveland? GV Art and Design. Everyday fans, you and I wear our pride on our sleeves. Now, you can wear your pride on your chest. GV Art and Design has one of the hottest Cleveland sporting lines. Log on right now to gvartwork.com. Check out all of their fantastic designs.
And don't forget, use the sales code FIX10, FIX10 to save 10% on your total purchase.
Follow gvartwork.com on Facebook, and remember, GV Art and Design, it's not just a shirt, it's a statement.
Fantasy sports lovers, you put so much time, hard work, and effort into playing week to week that it quickly stops being a fantasy and starts getting real. Real time spent making real decisions, creating real victory.
I'm the greatest man in the world!
And when the smoke clears, you want to show off those victories with a real prize.
I mean, a really real prize.
Nobody does that like Fantasy Jocks. The crew over at Fantasy Jocks have beautiful, high-quality, and heavy-duty championship belts, rings, trophies, and so much more for all your fantasy sports needs.
The trophy's 12 feet high, and it is glorious!
Football, baseball, hoops, you name it, they have it. Plus, they have awesome draft kits and party supplies to make all your preseason activities the envy of everyone. If your league needs a ring, belt, or trophy, or you want to upgrade what you already have, there's literally only one place to go. If you're going to be a fantasy jock, do it right.
It's mine, the most magnificent belt ever created, and it's mine.
With America's fantasy sports superstore, FantasyJocks.com.
What's your fantasy?
Now, back to the Sports Fix.
Welcome back to the Sports Fix live across the Sports Fix Radio Network. J-Rock back with you. And you know what? All of that there talking about the Cavaliers in the first segment. And again, like I said, we'll talk some more in depth about that tomorrow. But I mean, to sum it up, when you look at this run here, losing 9 of 10, and I didn't get this stat out in the first segment, but I definitely wanted to point this out. I mean, you know, as if your eyes fool you, then you need statistics to back it up. If you couldn't tell that point blank, defense, lack of defense is the issue with that Cavaliers team. In the last 10 games, where they've lost 9 of those 10 games, defensive efficiency, which is points allowed per 100 possessions. Not exactly the same as allowed per game, but it speaks to the efficiency. Literally, the Cavaliers are the 3rd worst team in their last 10 games in the NBA in defensive efficiency. The only teams as bad, the Knicks, and I want to say may have been the Wolves were as bad, but actually they may not even be. The Sixers are the other team, that are that bad. But, I mean, that's 3rd bottom, 3rd last. I mean, in all of the league, that's a whole couple dozen teams in front of you there, man, in defensive efficiency. I mean, that is it in a nutshell. You can use all the fancy coach words. Talk to me about fit, empty stats, all of that. The team as a whole doesn't play defense. They're lazy defensively, and as long as they don't play defense, they won't win basketball games. I don't care how many slam dunks they throw down. I don't care whatever you use all your terms you want, stretch fours and rim protectors and best in the game and all of that you want. These cats don't play defense. Like, that is the sum of it. The day they start playing defense, instantly you'll go, wow, I can't believe this is the same team, man. That is it. But, I mean, that statistic points it out. You're down there with the Sixers and the Knicks. Think about that. That team, that talent, that Cavs team. Forget what you think about those guys individually. That talent as a group, 3rd last in the last 3 weeks, basically, in defensive, hanging out with the Knicks and the Sixers. Come on, man. Those are 2 teams actively trying to tank. That says a lot right there, man. Again, a lot of time to go. Let's see what happens with that. We're going to roll on. John McMullen from the Sports Network getting ready to join us. We're going to switch from the hardwood to the pigskin. There was some good football played this weekend, and now we've got 4 teams left heading to a Super Bowl and coaching searches. That is, they're hoping to grab a crumb here of a decent offensive coordinator out of this. Let's talk about all of that. You can't call. You can talk to us on Facebook and Twitter. Facebook.com/TheSportsFix. Tweet with us at TheSportsFixCLE. We're going to go to the phones. John McMullen's there from the Sports Network here on the show. John McMullen, how you doing, my friend?
Doing well. Thanks for having me, Jerry.
Hey, thanks for being here as always. And since, of course, we always start football talking about basketball, but I know you did cover the NBA for a while and do that. What are your thoughts on what we've seen early on through basically half of a season in Cleveland? I understand chemistry and all of that, but do you scratch your head and just wonder, like, how can it be where it is right now just with the talent that the team has, regardless of being great or anything like that, just being good?
Well, yeah, I mean, anytime you have LeBron James and, injuries aside and you look up and you're under 500, it's a concern. So, you're supposed to be one of the top teams in the conference. You're supposed to be a legitimate contender. Maybe not for the NBA title, but for the bad, the Eastern Conference obviously far worse than the West. So the fact that they're not up in that conference, you can't paint it any other way than as a disappointment.
Yeah, and I mean, like I said, it's a whole half of a season, and I really do think, they're better after making the trades than they were, but they were fundamentally not put together right to begin with. It's definitely a concern, no doubt. Again, halfway through a season, you don't just completely throw the baby out with the bathwater. But I was just curious where you were, just seeing that, because again, I know you have some experience with the NBA game. But it's kind of like, hey, think about football equivalent. Remember that Philly squad a couple years ago that they were the all-star team. They were going to be, remember?
The dream team.
The dream team.
Didn't work out that well. I don't want to say it's that bad because
but you know what I mean. You've seen that before.
When LeBron's back and he gets going, it's going to be significantly different. But and he just is what he is, and he's the best player in the world. But, people forget it took a little while in Miami, although they did make the finals the first year. And you expect more because obviously Kyrie Irving and Kevin Love are tremendous individual players. So you look at that big three mentality in the NBA and say it should be working better than it does. And then there's the question of bringing in, David Blatt to coach the team, which is, an off-the-radar hiring.